special good morning to the listeners. Good morning to the viewers. It's Classic Radio and the GBN TV. Welcome to another edition of To The Point. It's Wednesday. It's the 20th day of May 2026. Good morning once again, especially to those of you via our social media platforms, Facebook page, YouTube channels, that usual shout out that I give you in mornings. Good morning to you once again and hope all is well with you. Those of you at home who are listening and viewing, let me say good morning to you also. Certainly hope that you're having a good one. I was just about to complain that my guest is going to be late, but I've seen one arrive, still waiting on the other. And as soon as we get them settled in just a wee bit, we're certainly going to get it all kicked off. So good morning once again. So I'm going to go over to Master Control, get my guest settled in just a wee bit, and of course we come right back to you. Stay with us, listeners and viewers. We'll be right back. Stay with, don't touch it out.
The Ministry of Agriculture White Potato Production Initiative is an OECS sub-regional project aimed at reducing Grenada's reliance on imported white potatoes, which in 2025 had an imported value of over 4.5 million EC dollars. The White Potato Production Initiative is part of the Ministry of Agriculture's food security drive and is being undertaken with the simultaneous cultivation of other crops such as sweet potatoes, pineapples, coconuts, carrots, and other vegetables. Other OECS countries like Dominica and St. Vincent and the Grenadines are already at an advanced stage in white potato production, with Dominica completely cutting the import of white potatoes during the first quarter of 2026. Grenada is now preparing to advance production for better output in 2027. The Ministry of Agriculture, Lands and Forestry, ensuring food and nutrition security for all.
Grenada, get ready for the grand finale of the athletic season. The Whitsuntide Games 2026 take over the Kirani James Athletic Stadium on Saturday 23rd and Sunday 24th May from 9 a.m. daily. Witness 2 days of electrifying track and field action as top athletes from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Trinidad and Tobago, Antigua, St. Lucia, Guyana, and more go head to head with Grenada's finest speed, strength, and regional rivalry once more, all in one place. Admission, finish line, $30, main stand, $20, VIP, $150 for 1 day, and $200 for 2 days. Don't miss the final local athletic meet of the season. Be there for the Whitsuntide Games 2026 as the season ends with a bang.
At 5 p.m. on August 5th, 1944, the schooner Island Queen sailed out of the St. George's Harbor. On board were some of Grenada's brightest and best sons and daughters. What happened afterwards remains a mystery.
Where Island Queen gone?
Heritage Theatre Company presents Lucy's Straw Hat, a full-length drama written and directed by Chris DeRiggs, a moving story about a family caught up in the drama of this great mystery. Meet Hyacinth, haunted and always ready to do mischief.
Rich man, he'll make him sign for you?
Lucy, beautiful and headstrong.
I had a dream, Mommy, but Hyacinth was there, holding my hand.
Lucy's Straw Hat at Grenada Trade Center on Saturday 13th and Sunday 14th June, and at the Luke Cinema on Saturday 20th and Sunday 21st June. Advance tickets $60, $75 at the door. Come join us.
Where Island Queen gone?
Home is easy as 1, 2, 3.
Thinking about your new home? Think easy. Think of Republic Bank Home Easy Loan. Think affordable. Think convenience. Think Republic.
Home is easy as 1, 2, 3. Republic makes home easy.
Wow, that was such a breeze.
Own your home with ease.
So whether laying that first brick or purchasing an existing home, we've got you covered. Republic Bank will get you those keys hassle-free in no time.
Home is easy as 1, 2, 3.
Apply for a Home Easy Loan today for a chance to win a cash prize. Getting your new home is easy with Republic Bank.
Republic Bank. We're the one for you.
Terms and conditions apply.
category. Welcome back once again to our listeners. Welcome back, viewers. It's To The Point, Classic Radio GBN TV. Let me just get that formal introduction to my guest this morning. There's always a saying that ladies first, right?
Yes, indeed.
Let's say good morning to Senator, of course, Claudette Joseph. Good morning, Senator. How you doing?
Morning, I'm good. It's
nice
good to be back here.
Nice to have you back.
Yes,
to have you back.
thank you.
All right, let me get the name right. We have Dr. Joni Musabayana.
Musabayana.
I knew I was going to mess up.
You said it right off camera.
I knew I was going to mess up. Well, good morning to you, sir, and nice to have you on the program.
Good morning to you and your viewers. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right, it's a pleasure to have you. So we're going to get right into the matter of the conversation this morning. Of course, our focus conversation this morning is basically in reference to, of course, the DWCP program. Am I right about that? So let's get into the conversation in relation to that. For the benefit of the listeners and viewers out there who are hearing about this, some may have already heard about it. Maybe a majority may be just getting. I want to have a more clearer understanding of what it's all about. What is the program really entails and what it's about?
The Decent Work Country program really is about a commitment by government employers and workers to work in a collaborative manner for the betterment of the working people of Grenada.
Mm-hmm. And it's basically that's it.
I think in short, that's about it. How do we make the labor market produce better outcomes, make better pay, better working conditions, in conditions of respect and dignity for all the working people in Grenada?
How Grenada? How can Grenada, if Grenada has no validated that Decent Work Country program, what concrete changes would we or should we that average worker, of course, annually feel in terms of their everyday life within the next 12 months? How would we feel about that? I'm sort of want to grab onto that.
Yeah, maybe I should
grab onto that particular.
Yeah, the mic is.
It can stay right there.
Okay, right.
Stay right there.
Good morning again, and hello to all the loyal viewers and listeners of this program. You mentioned in the next year to two. But let me just say that this Decent Work Country program is for the period 2026 to 2031.
2021.
So it covers a 5-year period.
Okay.
And within that period, we would work collaboratively with all the partners of labor, meaning the unions, the trade unions, through the Trade Unions Council, the employers through the Employers Federation, and the other employer representative body. The other main one we have is the Grenada Chamber of Industry and Commerce. Okay. And I know as we roll out the program, we will have their involvement as well. And of course government, because labor is governed with this tripartite arrangement. Yes. So we do have the Labor Advisory Board that comprises representatives of all three partners, and it is through the vehicle of the Labor Advisory Board we are going to drive the Decent Work Country program, and this would be over a 5-year period, as I say. And what we want to do is to ultimately create overall better conditions for workers in Grenada. That in turn will drive productivity, because we are looking towards a more developed Grenada, a Grenada that is more aligned with the United Nations sustainable development goals, our own national priorities are set out in our sustainable development plan, our national development plan that goes up to 2035.
Yes.
We want to focus on decent work overall that will ensure that workers enjoy better working conditions emotionally, physically, and of course financially.
All right. So you did mention that. So when the program rolls out officially, is it already in the process of being rolled out?
Oh, come on. You missed it?
I missed it.
So we had, so yesterday we had the official launch of the program. We had a wonderful session at the Trade Center last evening. Unfortunately, it was not broadcast live, and I must record to my disappointment.
Okay.
I expected it to be brought live, but it wasn't. But it was recorded.
Okay.
So it will be aired on GIS shortly. I don't have the time yet, but it will be soon aired on GIS, and I know footage will be shared with the media fraternity in Grenada.
Okay.
So we had the launch. We have here Dr. Joni Musabayana. He is the ILO director and head of the ILO Caribbean office.
Okay.
And there were two other officials from the ILO who joined us. We had a representation from the Trades Union Council and the Employers Federation, and of course government.
Yeah.
So it was a real coming together of the partners of labor, and we signed. So this is a pact, this is a contract.
Yes.
All four parties signed the Decent Work Country Program. Right?
All right.
And so it was officially launched yesterday. We will have a version that will be circulated to the public. That will be done shortly. I know our labor division, our labor commissioner, and the ILO team, they're going to be working together soon to have a simplified version that will be published to the public, including on the ILO website.
Okay.
So as the ILO said when they announced that Grenada is going to do a Decent Work Country program, it's a big deal. We are the fourth country in the Caribbean to launch.
Yes.
Yeah, and the first in the Eastern Caribbean.
Okay. Interesting. That's certainly happy to hear that.
Yeah.
But if I could follow up a bit and ask you this, what would workers first notice? Now we have the launch. What would workers first notice? Would it be better wages, stronger protection? Would it be more jobs, improved enforcement? What would workers first notice?
I think in the context of Grenada, given the issues that the workers have put on the table, the main element that they were concerned about was the issue of access to labor justice, dispute resolution. So if I'm not treated at work, how do I access my rights? How do I get justice? And the strengthening of the dispute resolution mechanism in the country is something that they've put up front and center. So I would imagine the first thing they would feel is that they will get timely access to justice and that their issues will be dealt with in a manner that hopefully they will feel is fair and just for them. Because that's the first main thing that they put on the table. Of course, the issue of collective bargaining, to increase work, clearly salary is first thing, but also the working conditions, as the minister has highlighted, is also another issue. And in that regard, we noted that tourism sector is the biggest sector in the country, contributing probably 60% to GDP, but the access to fair working conditions through collective bargaining for the majority of the workers in that sector is not something that they currently are enjoying. So they will make sure, they will feel that their voice is heard in the issues that affect their working lives.
Okay, okay, great. So we drew for break.
Let me just say
you want to add on to this?
On the issue of improve collective bargaining. We also have a fairly sizable informal sector in Grenada.
Yes.
And that is something during the period of the DWCP we would like to address. So I'm talking here about domestic workers.
Okay.
They are not represented, and they are not organized in the way that they should to be able to enjoy the best of conditions for workers. Other informal workers, people on the platform economy, like online workers and so. In fact, Grenada is leading the international effort on behalf of CARICOM in relation to decent work on the platform economy. So as we go into the International Labour Conference in the next 2 weeks, that will be one of the top subjects discussed. ILO is working towards a formalization of a mechanism to treat with platform economy workers, whether it's a conventions, together with recommendations, whether it's recommendations alone. We had a lot of discussion on that at ILO 2025. And Grenada is leading that on behalf of CARICOM. Right. So look out for us to be in the forefront.
Okay, great. I will say we were due for a break, but I wanted to ask, what with the introduction of the DWCP, what is that overall benefits for Grenada in general?
I think essentially, as the Honourable Minister said, you join the community of nations that aspires for ensuring that the way that Grenadian workers are treated meets international standards.
Okay.
And as you have heard, you are leading in developing this program in the East Caribbean, and you are joining other non-OECS member states that are already doing this. And globally, because the ILO is a global organization, you are joining 60, 70 other countries throughout the world who are already using this approach to improving the working lives of our people.
Okay. You want to add that?
No, I think Dr.
We'll be due for that break. Let's take it. And on return, we continue the conversation. Stay with us, folks. To the point, Classic Radio, GBN TV. We'll be right back after the break. Don't touch it dial.
My name is Felicia and I'm the owner of Feli's Nigerian Kitchen. I want to invite you all with your family to come for the GVN King of the Grill on the 30th of May. We'll be there with Nigerian style grilled. We'll have the grilled fish and bolek, which is grilled fish and plantain, and chicken, pork. Everything will be seasoned in Nigerian way. We'll have the spicy and the non-spicy, and of course we'll have a goosey soup and fufu. So come out that day and have fun. It will be at Monroe Field on the 30th of May. See you there, 1 p.m.
Fire up the coals, bring the flavor. It's time to crown the King of the Grill. Maggie King of the Grill 2026 is calling you. Think you got the creativity, the skills, and the fire to rule the grill? This is the ultimate showdown for chefs, backyard masters, and the food lovers alike. Step up, show your talent, and claim your spot among the best. With over $5,000 in cash and prizes to be won, the stakes has never been hotter. Happening Saturday, May the 30th. Register now. Call or WhatsApp 407-8458. But hurry, registration close April the 30th. Don't wait. Bring your fire, bring your flavor, and bring your A game. Maggie, King of the Grill 2026, where champions are made on the grill.
Maggie King of the Grill is powered by Maggie, enhancing your flavors. Rubis, Blue Bubbles Tenton Rentals, Grenada Paper Products, Grenville Credit Union, Flow, Budget Foods, My Finance Grenada, Carib Breweries, Ride Go Grenada, Glen Spring Water, and Grenada Bottling Company Limited. Maggie King of the Grill and Food Festival, where flavor meets fire.
Hey everyone, here is an invitation to join me this and every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. on GBN Television 711 K105 FM, our Facebook page and YouTube channel for Kaiso Talk. Meet the Kaisonians, hear their stories, feel the vibes. Kaiso Talk, Wednesdays 8:30 p.m. Compliments for Grenville Credit Union.
Attention, Grenada. Are you tired of those high electricity bills? Well, listen out. Classic Lighting Caribbean is bringing you a deal of a lifetime. Imagine powering your fridge, washing machine, TVs, internet, iron, and all the lights in your home with solar energy. If your home uses 5 kilowatts or less monthly, you can say goodbye to high electricity bills with a powerful 6.2 kilowatts all-in-one solar system for an unbelievable price of only $15,000. Yes, only EC $15,000. While stocks last, catch this massive solar sale happening May the 26th, 27th, and 28th at the Grenada Trade Center. Save money, power your home, and invest in your future with Classic Lighting Caribbean. Classic Lighting Caribbean, power in Grenada, Carriacou, and the Petit Martinique. The smart way.
Grenada, get ready for the grand finale of the athletic season. The Whitsuntide Games 2026 take over the Kirani James Athletic Stadium on Saturday 23rd and Sunday 24th May from 9 a.m. daily. Witness 2 days of electrifying track and field action as top athletes from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Trinidad and Tobago, Antigua, St. Lucia, Guyana, and more go head to head with Grenada's finest speed, strength, and regional rivalry once more, all in one place. Admission, finish line, $30, main stand, $20, VIP, $150 for 1 day, and $200 for 2 days. Don't miss the final local athletic meet of the season. Be there for the Whitsuntide Games 2026 as the season ends with a bang.
Welcome back to our listeners. Welcome back to our viewers. Of course, Senator Joseph, and of course, Dr. Joni. I'll just keep it like that. I'll keep it like that.
Make your life easier.
That's much easier. My next level of question, and I hope Senator Joseph could, of course, chime in on that for me. Youth unemployment and underemployment continues to affect young Grenadians. What specific opportunities would you say this program will create for young people trying to enter the workforce?
Yeah, that's a good question. Thank you. Well, first of all, we have a young population.
Yes.
Is it what, 60%?
60% below 30.
60% below 30.
Yeah.
So we have a very youthful population. And we've always struggled as a nation with high youth unemployment. Now, however, we are enjoying historic lows of unemployment overall. We are at 7.9% unemployment nationally, and amongst the youth, it's somewhere in the region of 19 or 20%. So, we've come down. At one point we were as high as like 40% of young people unemployed. So we are headed in the right direction. Now, one of the things the Decent Work Country program will do is to align the labor market needs with the skills of our labor force. So, as you know, government has already embarked on skills development, focusing on TVET, steering our young people in the right direction so that everybody does not go off and do a degree in psychology or sociology or in some area that they will not necessarily find employment on completion of their studies. So, we are building these centers for excellence, just as we are focused on healthcare and we are pushing Project Polaris. Yes. We are pushing the skills training initiative of government. And of course, we have already, as government, set up a delivery mechanism. So it will all come together. And this is even before we even had the idea of doing the Decent Work Country program. We identified that we need to match the skills of our young people so that they are ready to take up the employment opportunities based on our national needs. So that is going to be identified under the program. Secondly, we are going to establish under the program a public employment services agency. Interestingly, that is provided for under the Employment Act.
Okay.
But as with so many other things, no government, especially the one that held office for 23 years, did anything about it. So we have actually done, with the help of the ILO, some of the diagnostic and technical work already to set up the public employment services. And what that will do is to set up a central space, an agency that will gather data from employers in terms of their needs and the type of workers they're looking for, and gather data from job seekers.
Okay.
And they will both feed into the same database and match. So GBN is looking for a news anchor. You may put out an ad out there, but a qualified person may not see that ad and therefore may not even apply for the position. What the Public Employment Services Agency will do is that it will allow GBN to feed in that need into its system.
Interesting.
And all persons looking for work in whatever field would feed into the same system, and the system will match them. So the system will see, oh, GBN is looking for a news anchor, and here we have somebody with a suitable qualification. So things are going to get much better for our young people who would be leaving school or completing their course of study and entering into the job market.
Right. Interesting. Yeah. You also highlighted the importance of labor rights. Of course, we spoke in relation to that and compliance. Now, does the ministry currently have enough labor inspectors, resources to properly enforce, workers' rights across Grenada?
We do not have sufficient to answer the question directly, but we have come a very, very long way. We've come a long way. We have improved significantly on the inspectorate aspect of the ministry's work, which was pretty much almost non-existent when I became Labour Minister. We now have an inspectorate. We have a senior Labour officer heading that inspectorate. That's in the person of Mrs. Connie McQuilkin, and she has her team with her, and they go out regularly and do labor inspections randomly. Sometimes they are prompted, but there's been a vast improvement in that area. We have, however, gotten approval of the Cabinet and the Department of Public Administration to boost our staff capacity. They have approved our HR needs, and so we are actually still filling vacancies, not just in the Inspectorate Division of the Department of Labor, but also in other areas. So we have come a long way. We do not have the full capacity that we need, but we have the staff of 10 at the Division of Labor. All this thing happening and there's 10 of them, right? The staff of 10, they are really doing a marvelous job, steered and marshaled by our very competent Labor Commissioner. But we are improving as we go along, and as the program rolls out, people are going to see more and more improvement in labor.
The program also focuses on expanding social protection with groups of workers. Do you believe that the current most vulnerable in Grenada in the labor market per se? Tell us about in relation to that. Maybe I should take it over for you. I said the program focuses on expanding social protection.
Right.
Which group of workers do you believe is currently most vulnerable in Grenada, especially in the labor market?
Yeah, if I may. We've done the analysis and realized that just about 48% of the working force are in the informal economy, as a minister had already highlighted. And therefore, if you say the most vulnerable, that would increase coverage. It is really to work with the National Insurance Scheme to increase coverage towards informal workers.
Yeah.
But the good news is we have already been, as ILO, for the past 2 years, been working with them, and they have already launched a scheme which makes it flexible. If you are working every month, you can contribute a certain amount, deducted directly from your payroll. But if you are a vendor, sales go up and down, so you can't necessarily be able to pay a set amount every month. But at the end of the year, if you have an amount that you have to pay at the end of the year, you could front load, you could pay in the middle, or you could pay towards the end. This kind of flexibility is increasing the outreach to informal economy workers, who I believe are the majority of where we should focus to extend coverage.
How is this protection, how is it targeted per se? This targeted protection that you speak of is being planned, especially for workers of that nature?
Indeed. So the program is already up and running.
Yeah.
It's already being scaled up. And we, again, in terms of comparison, we had the National Heads of Social Security Schemes meeting in Bahamas. The Grenada experience was actually being heavily interested in by the other countries in the region. So that means it's already working, and it's an example that others are looking forward to getting involved in. But as the Minister said, also looking particularly domestic workers, that is a key issue. Because of the care economy, we know that many women are helping, largely women, helping in that area, recognizing them, seeing that they are formal workers, and also creating a program to bring them into social security contribution is also a key element in extending coverage.
All right, great. You also spoke about the strength of Grenada's tripartite system. You spoke in relation to that during the workshop. Were there any major disagreement between government unions and employers per se?
Look, when you come to the labor market, you always have to agree that employers come with the idea, yes, to pay, but perhaps not the highest, and workers come for the highest salary, if we look at it like that. And government is always trying to level everything up. So there's been discussions, I wouldn't say disagreements, but there are points of tension and issues that are looked at from different angles. The issue of how the dispute resolution system is structured, that's an area that still needs more dialogue. And even yesterday at the signing, the unions made the point they were available to discuss further to reach agreement. So it's not so much that people look at things from different points of view. It's more the agreement that we need to address these issues, address them on the table rather than through strikes in the streets, and that we all have a common end to get workers the best possible, pay that they can and conditions that they can, while also ensuring that we don't kill the goose that lays the egg by ensuring that those businesses are productive, are profitable, and therefore can continue to offer good conditions and good salary, which is then a win-win for both parties. And in that process, government gets increased tax revenue from a thriving economy.
What would you say were some of those issues that you would say that you have reached a consensus on?
I think the idea of training and retraining people is one that all parties agree to. The issue of the platform economy, as the Minister has highlighted, is indeed not yet large, but it's probably the fastest growing element of the labor market. The issue of increasing focus on enhancing the participation of women in the economy, in the labor market, because the female participation rate is just about 58%. We need to increase that as well, whereas men are around 70%. So increasing the female participation rate in the economy is key. Addressing the issue of school-to-work transition, the minimum working age versus the last year of compulsory education. Aligning this and facilitating this school-to-work transition is an area that received a lot of discussion as well. But also the condition of workers in the public service and how particularly those that work beyond the minimum required working hours, how they are remunerated, these are all things that they agreed, these are things that need to be looked at further going forward.
You know, in small islands like Grenada, how difficult do you think it would be to get this process rolled out in a smooth and in a smooth way? How difficult is it?
I wouldn't say difficult. I would say actually the advantage of smallness of size should make it easier for us, first, to meet more frequently, secondly, to come to a resolution much faster, because we are all living in the same community. So these issues are felt by all parties, whether you are workers, whether you are employers, whether it's the government. So I would say a program like this in small size economies probably moves much faster than big sized economies. Yeah.
Let me just add to that. I think Grenada will have success in rolling out this Decent Work Country program, because even before we embarked on the establishment of the program, and mind you, the idea of having a Decent Work Country program for Grenada only came about last year, when we attended the International Labour Conference, and we had an interaction with the head of the ILO and Dr. Musabayana here. And the idea came up of doing a Decent Work Country program for Grenada. And I think part of it is because it was recognized that we were embarking on a series of reforms that will enhance decent work in Grenada overall. But they were not under any particular umbrella. We did not have it under the umbrella framework of a Decent Work Country program, which is a facility that exists and works in over 70 countries. We had it rolled out in several Caribbean, Suriname, but Barbados was after as well. Bahamas, a few of them. Belize,
Belize, Guyana,
and it's working. Right. So what we were doing, for example, we already embarked with the assistance of the ILO on a comprehensive revamp of the labor code, for example, to, among other things, establish and improve dispute resolution mechanism. We had already done much of that work with some technical support from the ILO. We already embarked on the establishment of the public employment services. Right? Again, some technical work had already been done. We had advanced already, enhancing the capacity of the Department of Labor. But all of these things were little projects and initiatives standing on their own. What the Decent Work Country program will do is to bring all these improvements under one umbrella. So in a sense, the Decent Work Country program is already well in motion in Grenada, because some of the matters that will be covered under it, we already started work on. So I have every confidence. And with the staff, with the passion and drive we have with the staff at the Ministry of Labour, and as we enhance capacity there, the cooperation we have with the unions and with the employers, we're all on the same page with so many different things. In fact, we have more in common than we are disagreeing on. We hardly have disagreement on some of the key areas, right? So there is collaboration already and cooperation. So I know it will work, because the parties, by and large, we are all of one mind, that is to promote decent work for our people, to improve the lives of our people, and to enhance productivity, because when the workers' lives are improved, you get more production. And the employers are particularly interested in that. So I'm not worried about it being a difficulty or anything like that.
Let me get this question in also. What would you say is currently the biggest labor challenges facing Grenada today?
In my perspective, the issue of young people, as we've already said, and getting young people to work. And when you realize that about 20% of the workforce have had access to technical vocational education, I would say that is the biggest challenge, making sure that our labor force is sufficiently is skilled and equipped with the necessary know-how to execute jobs in a changing labor market where technology is really wreaking havoc with how work has been done traditionally. So ensuring that our workforce is purpose ready today and for tomorrow. That, I would say, is probably the biggest challenge facing the labor market. On the other hand, you do hear employers listing a range of skills that they feel they are not able to find in the labor market currently. And some of them using that as a basis for justifying labor migration inward into the country. But on the other hand, we have the issue where the top 10% of our most skilled are also leaving. So we have a very complex phenomenon. We need higher skills, we need migrant labor, but we also need to be sure that our employers can offer the best conditions for the best of our workers so they can stay more and contribute to the national economic development of the country.
In small economies like Grenada, is it that difficult to solve that particular issue, those problems per se?
I would say yes, because the challenge of scale then begins to affect you. International, let's say, skills provision is, of course, necessarily expensive business. To design a program, you then need the throughput of, let's say, 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 for the system to be able to break even. Yes. Now, when you don't have that sufficient volume, then the range of skills that could be offered for training becomes limited, and that is where we end up with the challenge then.
All right. We do for that break. Let's take it. When we come back, we continue. Stay with us, folks. We'll be right back. Don't touch it out.
Girl, your hybrid looking real good. How often you change the oil?
Boy, I don't play with that me oil. I just change my oil very regular. And I'm using Servo fully synthetic oil. The best oil on the market for gas and turbo.
Ambassador of Cuba. It is a pleasure to extend an invitation to join us at the GBN Maggie King Grill Festival. Cuba is very proud of its rich culinary heritage, flavors that tell the story of our traditions and our culture. At this festival, we will share with you the taste of Cuban cuisine.
We're looking forward to joining Grenada in this vibrant national event, where friendship and cultural exchange are expressed through the universal language of food. See you soon at the GBN Maggie King of the Grill. Looking forward to see you.
Fire up the coals, bring the flavor. It's time to crown the King of the Grill. Maggie King of the Grill 2026 is calling you. Think you got the creativity, the skills, and the fire to rule the grill? This is the ultimate showdown for chefs, backyard masters, and the food lovers alike. Step up, show your talent, and claim your spot among the best. With over $5,000 in cash and prizes to be won, the stakes has never been hotter. Happening Saturday, May the 30th. Register now. Call or WhatsApp 407-8458. But hurry, registration close April the 30th. Don't wait. Bring your fire, bring your flavor, and bring your A-game. Maggie, King of the Grill 2026, where champions are made on the grill.
Maggie King of the Grill is powered by Maggie, enhancing your flavors. Rubis, Blue Bubbles Tenton Rentals, Grenada Paper Products, Granville Credit Union, Flow, Budget Foods, My Finance Grenada, Carib Breweries, Ride Go Grenada, Glen Spring Water, and Grenada Bottling Company Limited. Maggie King of the Grill and Food Festival, where flavor meets fire.
Looking for the perfect pre-carnival fete? Then get ready for Rhythm and Spice, a Rotary brunch experience happening Sunday, June 28th from 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. at Quarantine Point Recreational Park. Enjoy an afternoon of bold flavors, vibrant rhythms, and unforgettable vibes featuring Sakina and the Alpha One Band, plus guest artists and DJs. Early bird tickets are just $200 and available now on GoTo grenada2fat.com. Dress code brunch chic, island elegance with spice-inspired tones. Hosted by the Rotary Club of Grenada. Proceeds support Rotary Community Projects, Rhythm, and Spice. Sunday, June 28th, Quarantine Point Recreational Park. Sip, savor, socialize, support.
Before the digital age, before the world moved at the speed of a click, there was a signal connecting a nation. In 1986, a journey in broadcasting began in Grenada, a journey that would grow into a trusted voice across the country. For 40 years, through radio and television, we've been there for the stories that shaped our nation, the news that mattered, the voices that informed us, the moments that brought us together. Your stories, your voices, your moments. The Grenada Broadcasting Network, 40 years strong, one nation, one network.
Welcome back, viewers. Of course, it's To The Point, Classic Radio, GBN TV, moving up just around 6 minutes. I think we may have to grab a little extra time this morning in the conversation. My next question goes out is like this. You know, if Grenada is look back, you know, in 2031, can you say that start now goes up to 2031? What is that one achievement you will hope that the Decent Work Country program will remembered for?
That one achievement, to my mind, will be a visible improvement in the quality of work, quality of life for workers in Grenada, which would not necessarily be attributable to one specific event or accomplishment under the program, but that by the cumulative effect of all the initiatives under the program, everyone will agree that workers are enjoying better conditions in 2021 than they were when we started in 2026.
All right.
And that's how I would put it.
Maybe I could give the same answer from a different perspective. I would say it's a labor market where there's harmony.
Okay.
But to achieve harmony, there are many elements that need to be ticked off. That means the dialogue process through the labor advisory body is working well. That means the dispute resolution mechanism is working well. That means labor inspection is working well. That means, most importantly, collective bargaining is working well, so that workers feel that they are getting a fair day's wage for a fair day's work. And the employers, businesses are doing well, are booming, because they have a very productive workforce. With all of those elements, then you have a stable labor market. I would almost say you could use a rough indicator where you'd say the less strike action there is, the better we are all doing. Because that means we have a mechanism, not that there are no differences, but we have a way of resolving them that leaves everybody happy. Win-win. Win-win.
All right. But this goes to Senator Joseph. And you know, what would success look like for you personally as the Minister of Labour?
I guess
rolling off from the previous question.
Well, I would guess could give the same answer. You know, I could give the same answer, that we have better working conditions overall for workers, that our industrial relations climate is stable, peaceful, that all the partners in the labor tripartite arrangement feel heard, feel fairly treated, that there is equity and mutual respect in the whole labor space. And I think we are well on the way. I think, even as we launch a Decent Work Country program, I'm sure you will agree with me, and I know many of our listeners will agree with me, that we have vastly improved the environment in Grenada from what we inherited in 2022 by some of the very deliberate actions and steps that we have taken as a government in relation to workers, be it the restoration of pension rights, be it the establishment of the new contributory pension scheme for workers who would not have otherwise qualified for the existing pension scheme, under the existing pension scheme, be it regularization of workers, be it on the government's own volition and even absent occupational safety and health legislation, which, by the way, is one of the things we'll accomplish under the program. Government on its own volition seeking to improve the working environment and leading by example, hoping that the private sector will follow suit, right? Taking deliberate steps to improve the working environment of its employees. So you see, we've emptied the financial complex so that that facility can be rehabilitated to make it a safer space for workers. We've moved out a vast amount of workers, including the Division of Labor, from the ministerial complex while we improve things there. And this was on government's own volition. So we have taken very, very deliberate steps to improve the lot of workers, respectful salary negotiations, collective bargaining. The union presidents are saying it. This is the best they've had in terms of fringe benefits. The police are saying it, the Prisoner Welfare Association, they are saying it, the public workers are saying it, the teachers are saying it. Best fringe benefits they've ever enjoyed. And so I think we are definitely on the right track. If we keep doing what we're doing now and implementing the Decent Work Country program, Grenada will definitely be a beacon in the Caribbean.
All right, great. Would you say you want to chime in on it?
Yeah, from the ILO point of view, what would success in Grenada look like? I would say up-to-date labor legislation.
Yeah.
And up-to-date labor legislation creates the base for institutions of the labor market that are working well. And when these institutions work well, collective bargaining works well, the extent of workers that are benefiting from collective bargaining increases. We have said so far 48% of the workers are actually outside of the collective bargaining framework.
Yeah.
Once success looks like 60, 70, 80% of the workforce get conditions that are negotiated, agreed upon. There is a sufficiently capacitated labor inspection that moves into the companies to ensure that this is being done. Where infringements are undertaken, there is an effective, timely resolution of disputes so that people can get their rights in good time without a long backlog. But that is at the national level. But a successful labor market in Grenada must necessarily be well integrated in the Caribbean labor market context. We are, after all, a regional labor market, even if we feel at country level that we are only a national labor market. Very few companies would come to operate only in one country. If you look at most of the companies that are investing in the region, they are investing in different parts, but in the whole region. And therefore, a regional labor market where Grenada's voice is well heard, is well articulated, and you are well on your way to doing that, and that it's a region that speaks for itself at the international conference. So I really want to again applaud the government and the minister for being active at the CARICOM level and taking leadership responsibility there, and being very active at the global level to be part of the world in which we want, not just to receive decisions made by others, but to shape the world that we want to be in, despite our size.
Would you said that the program will directly, address, wage growth, affordability issues. The program in general, will it? From time to time you hear workers will complain about, the low wages dispute and the rising cost of living and so. Will the program, directly address?
Absolutely yes, because when maybe we are using this technical word collective bargaining, but essentially
that's what it is.
Workers sit on the table with the employers and agree on what is the most fair remuneration for the work that they are doing. And for us to reach conclusion on that, it means the workers put their demands, the employer looks at affordability, and there is a line there where both of them can meet each other. Not at the highest point of workers' demand, but not at the lowest point of employers' demand either.
Okay.
And that necessarily, so collective bargaining means people are agreeing on what the wages should be. And over time, the wage growth definitely happens as enterprises also are more productive. Exactly. What we want to avoid is where companies are highly productive and workers are getting the worst conditions. Then we are really heading towards sweatshops, and that's not what we want.
I agree with that. Can you say that Grenada would realistically achieve decent work for all by 2031? And is there still more, of course, of an aspiration than a practical goal?
I think that we said 48% are in the informal economy. I want to keep coming back there.
Yeah.
What I would love to is 2031 say how many of that 41 have we reduced. Whether we can completely eliminate it, I think this is a challenge. But I think it's realistic to think that the majority of this 48%, we will reduce this number so that if we end up with 10-15% who are still in the informal economy, but then we say 70-80% of our workforce are benefiting from negotiated conditions, then I think that's success.
All right. How will ordinary workers be able to monitor when a government, is actually delivering on the program outline? What is actually, promised or outlined in the program?
That's a very good question, GT. You're on the ball this morning. In terms of implementation, monitoring, evaluation, the part of the Decent Work Country program document that we signed last night establishes, and this has already been approved by the cabinet, that a subcommittee of the Labour Advisory Board will be set up. And what came out in the discussion last night is that perhaps we should include some other persons, not necessarily or not ordinarily part of the Labour Advisory Board, on that subcommittee. So, for example, a representative of persons living with disabilities, probably another civil society organization representative. And the remit of that committee will be to monitor and evaluate and ensure that the program is implemented as intended, and the results we hope to achieve from the program are actually realized. So there is a built-in mechanism for implementation, monitoring, and evaluation.
All right. Yeah. There's always that level of worry that would come in programs of that nature. I guess you understand where I'm coming from. What happens if if the program fails? And to meet its targets and etc. Is there any accountability mechanism built in this particular process?
But I think you're kind of asking the same question in a different way. Remember, this is not government implementing a program. This is a collaborative effort by all the partners. Every step of the way, from the time we did the diagnostic, the validation, the settlement of the program itself, the approval, the presentation to the cabinet approval, this is all tripartite. Okay. Remember that. So this is equal ownership of this Decent Work Country program by the workers of Grenada, represented by the Trades Union Council, by the employers of Grenada, represented by the Grenada Employers Federation, and by the government. So we are all part of the arrangement because it is driven through the Labor Advisory Board, which by law is tripartite in nature. So if it somehow fails, we would all be collectively responsible for that failure. It wouldn't be just like, well, the government fails. And if all parties do not carry their weight equally, we may have challenges succeeding with the program. But based on what we've experienced so far, I am highly optimistic about this program and that it will succeed because all partners see the benefit. The unions see the benefit. A lot of what the unions are still calling for, occupational safety and health, formalization of the informal sector, better conditions. A lot of what the workers are asking for through the TUC, these are the matters that will be covered under the program.
Okay.
And the employers see it very clearly from my assessment of them, that once we have these improved conditions, productivity will improve. And of course, when productivity improves, their bottom line, their returns improve. So I think already we all see it as partners in the process. We all see it as a win-win, and we are all very invested in ensuring that it succeeds.
All right.
Yeah.
But maybe, if I may chime in there, we don't wait until the end to know if we've succeeded or not.
Okay.
So there's a regular monitoring that goes on. But importantly, at the halfway stage, we as the ILO institute an overall evaluation of the performance of the program. We have the priorities, the outcomes, outputs, and the activities. This is the results framework. So the manner in which it is done is so that we can easily monitor performance. At the halfway stage, we all step back and take a complete review of the whole program.
Okay.
Are we still on track? Which elements are moving well? Which elements are not moving well? We get in an independent assessor from outside to come and have a look. And then we sit among ourselves with those results and see where have we lived up to our expectations, pat on the back, where have we not lived up to our expectations, and then we look each other in the eye and say, what do we need to do here to pull up our socks? So the manner in which the results framework of the program is designed. At the end, we do again another review. And that would lead normally then to a second generation. So if I give the example of Suriname, who are on to their fourth generation.
Okay.
Every 4 or 5 years, we review, and on the basis of that review, we then design the next one. And generally, you see that there is a trajectory upwards as you go from the first one to the second one to the third one, as we all get into the habit of how this thing works. But the advantage of Grenada is you are starting from a very high base, if I could say, because as the Honorable Minister said, a lot of the elements were already in motion. We are packaging them together. So in some ways, in this case, success will be much easier to achieve because we were already moving. It's not a train that's starting, it's a train that was already in motion.
All right. There's a question I want to ask. I should have asked it a bit earlier, but let me just get it in here. You know, sometimes workers believe that social dialogue, discussions really translate into real improvements. What makes the program different from previous labor initiatives?
Well, did we have any previously?
I could say when I first came here, I found a labor market that was, if I could say, really struggling to stand up, if I could use that analogy.
Okay.
Now we have a labor market that is up, not working but running. So when we first came, and for various reasons, the labor legislation was not up to date, and there were no efforts. Now we have effort to make it, to improve the legislation. The institutions of the labor market were not in place. We are putting in place now an effective dispute resolution mechanism. Workers have a view on how it should be structured, but all of it is to improve it. Labor inspection, the department. So I would say we are actually now seeing a labor market that is marching into the future much as it was probably resting at the beginning of the process. And credit to the Honourable Minister for all the efforts that she and the government have put in place to make all these elements of the labour market begin to move forward.
All right. What would you say, what is those measurable outcomes can workers use to judge the particular success of this that you mentioned before?
No, the manner in which it is designed, these outcomes, outputs, those results framework are very clear and very measurable.
Yeah.
So the monitoring and oversight committee will have very clear, tangible, measurable outcomes that they need to check, and there's a work plan that is time-based, which will show in 6 months we'll be here, in 12 months we'll be here, in 18 months we'll be here. And the role of that monitoring committee is to see, are we hitting the targets that we have committed ourselves to? And workers are very active, very, very active, if I could say, part of the whole process.
Interesting.
Let me just reading from my notes here, some of the outcomes based on the diagnostic and validation exercises that were done, in which the workers were heavily involved. All right. So, outcome: enhance national capacities and policy framework for coordinated labor governance, right, and employment promotion. National legal, policy, and institutional framework is strengthened, which is what Dr. Joni was speaking of, enhancing the legislation, which we are well on the way to doing. I did announce at Labor Day, for example, that government had approved the policy for the extension of maternity leave and the introduction of paternity leave. That's something that will go directly to one of the outcomes identified during the diagnostic and validation exercises. Again, enhance policies, data, and employment services. We spoke about the public employment services, in relation to which some work has already been done with the help of the ILO. The quality and relevance of TVET, right, is enhanced to support improved transitions from training to the labor market. That's another outcome that we hope to achieve, which we discussed this morning. National capacities and systems to support small business development and promote formalization is strengthened. We discussed that quite a bit, especially the latter part of formalization. Strengthen its enabling environment for cooperatives, development, and performance. That's an area we'll have to work on, right? Tourism and hospitality sector demonstrates increased formalization. We talked about that a lot during this discussion, formalizing the tourism sector. That's another outcome that the participants identified they would like to see. Enhanced working conditions and protections at work, occupational safety and health. All right. National capacities and institutional mechanisms for dispute prevention and resolution. We spoke about that a lot, and that is something we are all working on. Increased institutional, technical, and representational capacity of employers and workers' organization. And then an adaptive, universal, and rights-based social protection system. That's what they want to see, some of the outcome.
Okay.
Right? So the exercise that we've undergone so far, that has clearly set out the outcomes that all parties in this Decent Work Country Program arrangement would like to see. So we know exactly what we are working towards. That's why I'm so confident that we'll be successful.
All right. And I'm certainly happy to hear that. Well, we only have a few more minutes left on the program this morning. I already see the phones are going. I know there are listeners and viewers who may want to ask a question or two. We have a limited time, of course, to our listeners and viewers who wants to call in, so I will ask you to be very, very brief in terms of your contribution. The Honourable Minister could, of course, respond, and of course, Dr. Joni could respond if, of course, the question is directed at it. So the number 435-2041, 435-2041. We do have a first caller. Caller, you're live. Good morning. Welcome.
Yeah, morning, DC. Morning to listeners, viewers, and of course, morning to your esteemed guests in the studio. I felt it's necessary that I made a contribution. For one, a program like that should not be where the contribution would not be coming from the public. So something like that should be extended to an hour and a half, 2 hours, because, I mean, one of the things that your ILO person says is that one of the reasons why this is important because we all affected by a community, a small community, especially a small island, and so on, we all impacted. So if the wider part of the society is excluded, in the sense we have a tripartite, and I know what I'm saying because when we had the social compact, and this is one thing I want to ask the minister about. What happened to the social compact? Because the social compact began to speak about the issue of decent work and so on, the process, I mean. And that has been just buried. I mean, a lot of work was done in that. I was part of that. Civil society was part of that. So we seem to be reinventing the wheel. It's good. I'm not condemning the effort now, but it seems that rather than build on what we had before, of course you mentioned the National Development Plan, which also have been part of that. We need to be more cohesive and also more consistent in this place. Finally, my concern is when we talk about decent work, we have a situation where, although two things. One, we had the minimum wage, which only this government been bold enough to deal with. But what happened soon after? The employers and them resisted in pain, or else once they decide to increase the minimum wage, then they sack up workers. So how can we ensure that when improvements are done, but from a policy point of view, it is not to people by the other sectors? And finally, in terms of climate change, we talk about decent work. What about the construction workers and them who will be expected to work in the sun, the hot sun? You might hear right now as the FIFA World Cup coming up, one big concern that is expressed is the effect on the heat of the players. Are we not should be more advanced in trying to figure out how we do work here in terms of the decent work for people? Thank you for your indulgence.
Thank you, caller. Thank you. Respond to the caller anyway.
Let me take the last point first. I don't know if the caller joined the program after we started the discussion, but the part of the Decent Work Country program will be the promulgation of occupational safety and health legislation, which will treat with working conditions, the need for protective gear, PPE in certain environments, and so including the construction sector, because of course that's an area of concern. We walk around Grenada and we see with our bare eyes that the construction workers do not have the right protective gear, whether it's shoes, helmet, jackets, or whatever. So the promulgation of occupational safety and health legislation featured, in fact, it was part of outcome number 3, enhanced working conditions and protections at work, national legal policy and institutional framework for OSH to be strengthened. So that is part of our remit and our mandate under the Decent Work Country program. In terms of the social compact, I did mention earlier that as part of the Decent Work Country program, and this is not a contrivance of the government of Grenada, this is a well-established mechanism and framework used by the ILO, recommended to countries such as ours, already in motion in over 70 countries of the world, including Caribbean countries. So we are not reinventing, we are not contriving something unique for Grenada. We are following a well-established and proven framework for achievement of decent work. And we are doing so with the able and technical support of the ILO officials. We have an ILO director here sitting with me, right? If there is anything that we should benefit from, any work of the social compact that we should benefit from, of course, I would be very happy to receive same. The only documented work that we have so far was the National Sustainable Development Plan 2025 that I know persons in the civil society movement, such as Sister Joni and so, championed from around 2015 when we were going into the structural adjustment program. They insisted that government draws up a national development plan. In fact, I think that was a condition of civil society participating in the social compact that was put in place as we embarked on the structural adjustment program. And quite frankly, Call, I think the social compact died long before 2022 because we did not inherit any aspect of it.
Okay. All right. We may not be able to entertain any more calls because we are way over time. There's a lot to do this morning, so we may not be able to entertain any more calls. But I want to give you more the opportunity. Any closing remarks in terms of a discussion this morning?
Absolutely. I want to congratulate Grenada for coming together, agreeing on what type of labor market we would like to see going forward. That is easier said than done, and that collective will and collective commitment that over the next 5 years, these are the main elements of what it will constitute to improve the labor market in Grenada, which is what the Decent Work Country program is really to be commended. What is left now is to put the shoulder to the wheel and to deliver on all the key elements. And like we said, the advantage is that in a lot of the areas of work had already started. So we are giving momentum, boosting things that were already moving along. Yes. But we can only, they say, if you want to do something fast, do it by yourself. But if you want to go far, let's do it together. And I think in this case, we are doing it together and we're therefore destined to go very far.
Oh, great.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, GT. And I would say, as at the Division of Labor, we are very, very pleased with how far we've come in the last 4 years. I think Grenada will agree when I say we've managed to stabilize our industrial relations climate. We inherited a situation where literally the day before the general election, there were protests taking place at TAMCC. And we were able to come into office and treat with all of the matters that were causing so much disquiet amongst our workers, whether it's the private sector or the public sector. We went as far as paying salaries that were docked to teachers and some public workers that our courts said the government was entitled to dock. But we looked at the principle and moral side of it, and we repaid those monies because we thought there was justification for the protest. And so we've come a very, very long way in from inheriting a situation where there was active protests taking place regularly to one where we have settled and stabilized the environment to the extent that we can now embark collectively together on a decent work country program. As Dr. Joni said, we have competing interests, employers, workers, government trying to balance everything. So there will always be points of tension. But I think by and large, we've reached a point where we have a common vision, a common goal for our country. We are looking together. When I say we, I mean the tripartite arrangement. We are looking at the big picture, and we are ready to work together to achieve the goals and the outcomes of this Decent Work Country program. And I am not in the least concerned that we will not do so. And I will say so. That will be the case whether or not I am the Minister for Labour, because we are putting the systems and the mechanisms in place that will ensure that the program moves forward, no matter who sits in the seat of minister.
All right.
Right? Thank you. Thank you.
Senator Joseph, once again, Dr. Joni, I want to thank you both for sharing information this morning. I'm sure there are lots of listeners who may have had misconceptions in relation to the program, may have a clearer idea how it moves forward. So I want to thank you both once again, and best wishes for the rest of the day.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, GT.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, listeners, viewers.
All right. Hey, folks, that's how we take a wrap for today's edition of To The Point. Join us again for another edition. That's how we say goodbye.